Welcome to Connect with Rohan on Ideal Island. The Oxford English Dictionary has added several distinct Sri Lankan words in its 2025 edition, making a significant acknowledgement of the Sri Lanka island's linguistic and cultural identity on the international stage. Words include Kotturoti, Kiribat, Watlapang, Aspradamais, Baila, Papare, Aurudu, Osari and Manlu. Now, the person behind the coordination on behalf of Sri Lanka is with me. She is Rochana Jayasinghe. A very warm welcome, Rochana, to this program.
Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard. Before we proceed, I think for the benefit of our viewers, I'm going to read a little bit of your bio, if that's all right with you. Rochana is a graduate of the Bachelor of Arts Honours in English from the Peradeniya University of Sri Lanka, and she was also an assistant lecturer in English. She joined the Oxford English Dictionary in 2023 as a consultant for Sri Lankan English. That's a new phrase, Sri Lankan English, following her research on Sri Lankan origin words in the Oxford Dictionary for her Master of Studies in World Literatures at the University of Oxford. Rochana contributed to the June 2025 update of the OED, that's the Oxford English Dictionary, World Englishers. To me, it's a new phrase, Englishers, World Englishers, but I don't think that is for Rochana. Reflecting Sri Lankan English vocabulary, usage and cultural context. As I said, Rochana, welcome again. Let's kick off the program. I would normally get to all these exciting words that's joined the dictionary. Well, first of all, congratulations and best wishes on the hard task that you went through to put Sri Lanka on the map.
Oh, thank you.
So, who are you? Let's go back to basics. That's how I always start a program. Mm-hmm. Who is Rochana? So tell us, walk us through of your childhood, where you are from in Sri Lanka, etc. Floor is yours.
Right, thank you very much. Thank you once again for this opportunity, for inviting me to speak on this channel.
My pleasure.
So I was born in Kandy, Sri Lanka. I schooled in Sri Lanka. I went to Kandy Girls High School. And as a child, I always enjoyed reading and writing, which is, I think, one of the biggest reasons someone goes on to study English at English literature for A-levels and then at university, and that's pretty much the route I took as well. I enjoyed reading and I wanted to get into reading as a career, reading and writing as a career, and then I studied it for my A-levels and then went on to major in English at the University of Peradeniya. So that is the basics of my...
Kandy born, Kandy educated, higher studies, everything in Kandy.
Everything in Kandy, yeah.
So you are born and bred, educated, secondary schooling and in university in Kandy in Sri Lanka. So what was your movements from there? Well, here we are in London.
Yes. So the natural trajectory after completing my undergraduate degree was to go on to do a postgraduate degree, because I've always wanted to be within academia. So that was the natural next step for me, to go and do a master's. So I've always wanted to pursue my postgraduate studies in the UK. Mm-hmm. So then I applied to a few universities in the UK, Oxford included, and then I got selected by Oxford, and then I went to Oxford. Mm. So I went to Oxford in September 2022. I graduated in 2023 with a Master's in World Literatures in English.
Masters in World Literatures in English.
Yes.
Right.
So World Literatures in English, meaning, it was basically a post-colonial English course. Mm-hmm. So it was from all these, Commonwealth countries that used English as a language of the country, so which produced literatures in English. So Sri Lanka included, India, countries in Africa, then obviously New Zealand, Australia. So it was a post-colonial literature's master's. So that's what I did. I graduated in 2023, and during the course of my master's, for one of my term papers, I decided to focus on Sinhala origin words in the Oxford English Dictionary. I started with Sinhala origin words because Sinhala is my mother tongue. So obviously I felt a bit more comfortable looking through it, and also it was a limited paper. This was just a term paper. It was not my dissertation. So in some work that could accommodate that, I focused on Sinhala origin words in the Oxford English Dictionary.
Can I interrupt you there? So you said you started looking at the Sinhala origin words in the Oxford English Dictionary.
Yeah.
So I read out in my intro a number of words that was as a result of your involvement. So prior to your involvement, what were the words that were already there? Were there any words?
At the time I was doing this research, there were 35 Sinhala origin words in the Oxford English Dictionary. So words like Kurakkam, Poya, Pansala, Rate Mahatta, they're all in the dictionary, and they were introduced somewhere around the 1920s. So this was during the colonial government, and these words were introduced for the benefit of the colonial government and administration.
I see.
Right?
So assist them.
Yes, exactly.
Them. Yeah.
So a lot of these words are flora, fauna, and like I mentioned, poia. All these religious sort of anthropological words. It was all for the benefit of the colonial administration. So doing all that political studying, you can. There's a lot that you can garner from it, and maybe with the words that I've added. Maybe someone can do a similar kind of sort of political reading of that. So why are words like Osari in it? Is it because the person who introduced it? Is it because she's from Kandy, that she was born and raised in Kandy? So there are all these different interpretations that people can make, but we can talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. So there is always, whether they were the colonial British who introduced certain Sri Lankan words or Sinhalese words into the Oxford English Dictionary in the 1920s, or whether it's Rochana who has done that in 2023 from a Kandy-based background, the word Osariya going in. So there will always be personal, political, social backgrounds, connotations,
yes,
etc.
The personal is always political, and I'm not going to shy away from that.
Yes, so I mean, the little I know on the word Aswaduma or Aswadamais, that's been there in the system or the OED circles since 1857. Now, did it ever get included in the dictionary, or was it just after your intervention or your coordination that it got in, along with the other words that we will talk about?
Yeah. So, interesting story about Aswadamais. For the longest time, I always thought that it was in the Oxford English Dictionary. I think that was a general conversation, that was a general knowledge that prevailed among people as well.
Me too.
Yes, yeah. That Aswadamais was a word in the Oxford English Dictionary. But then, when I gained access to the OED archives, where I worked for my research, it just did not come up on the system. Right? We have other words like anaconda, berry. I'll talk about those later. So all of these words came up, but not as Aswadamais. And this is a word that people commonly thought was already in the dictionary. So then I did a lot of research on that. I looked at the archival material. And then I found out that it was part of the OED conversation itself for a very long time. But then there was not much evidence for them also to include it into the dictionary, even though there was a lot of talk about it. So I can't remember the year exactly, but I think somewhere around the 1980s, they've revisited Aswadamais. But then I saw the editor had written a note saying has to be omitted, but within brackets, sadly. So it's a word that they liked, but couldn't because there was not enough evidence. But now, in 2000, when I started working on it in 2023, there was a lot more evidence available because of the internet. So then it came under the radar of the OED editors, and they said, okay, this is something that we could add. And also, simply because of the conversation it was already generating in the country, because we all believed that it was in the dictionary.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that itself makes it very significant. So then, now it's in the dictionary.
It's in the dictionary. So how was your involvement? How did it all start? The connection with your good self to the Oxford English Dictionary, because you are the Sri Lankan coordinator or the link.
Yes. So I have to say I was very, very proactive in this. So this was part of, well, we had 3 courses within my master's program. So
this is at Oxford?
Yes. So there was a course called B course. It's the course on book history. And we all had to select different projects that we wanted to focus on. And we were taken on a field trip to the Oxford University Press, where the Oxford English Dictionary is published as part of the Oxford Languages Department. And then, so that's when I got the idea to, focus my research on single origin words in the Oxford English Dictionary. So then I reached out to them. I reached out to the archivist, and then I arranged an appointment to meet with her, Beverly McCulloch. And then I spent a lot of time in the archives. I think, a few months at least, just researching on single origin words. But then that is what I wrote my master's. That is what I wrote my paper on. But then obviously I expanded it for my own personal enjoyment, and then I met with the World English's executive editor, who is Dr. Danica Salazar. And then I met Peter Gilliver, who was one of the editors of the Oxford English Dictionary, and he has written a book about the making of the Oxford English Dictionary as well. So a prolific historian of the Oxford English Dictionary.
It was your individual personal effort.
Personal effort, yeah. So this was all personal at this point.
It's wonderful to note this because here is one person trying to put Sri Lanka on the map yet again, in this time in the Oxford English Dictionary. I'm going to say very well done, and long may it continue. But let's continue with the words. So
I just want to point out that at this point I had no intention of putting Sri Lanka on the world map. That's
it's already there, but
exactly. Like it's already there. Sri Lankan English always existed, right? And there are already so many conversations taking place about Sri Lankan English within the Sri Lankan Academy. It has been happening for years and years and years, and I've learned so much from it. And especially at the Department of English at Peradeniya, I've had so many difficult conversations about language, power, identity, conversations that challenged my own assumptions of language and identity, or challenged my own identity. So all of this is part of the conversation about Sri Lankan English or world Englishes, and these conversations have been happening for years and years. So this was not me trying to represent Sri Lanka or to, this was all just a personal passion project.
I think you're being modest here, right? Subject to that, let's proceed.
Yeah.
So, Asvedumais, for the benefit of all our viewers, it's as far as we know, it's a Sinhalese word, Asveduma or Aswasenuma, to plough the lands.
Yes.
Is that right? To plough the land.
Yes.
So that's fine. So then words such as kottu, roti, to me kottu and roti are from 2 different languages. So that's why I think you're very careful, or we are, say, in the Sri Lankan words, not just Sinhalese words. Kottu is like cut, and then the roti, of course, is the Sri Lankan version of the roti as opposed to the Indian rotis that we know. So, Watlapang, a traditional spiced coconut custard dessert. Now, again, appam is very much Kerala. right? But the circular wate, watalapang, and of course that the origins are from the Malay community, casually referred to as the Muslim community, but it's a Malay dish, a dessert. Malum.
Yes.
How did you find that word? Because it's a word that we all use, a leafy vegetable dish, for the benefit of our viewers who do not understand Sinhalese, that is. Malum. Then you put Kiribat, Aurudu, which of course is celebrated as the Sinhala Tamil or Sinhala Hindu New Year. A Portuguese Goanese sourced word, Creole Baila,
Yes.
Popolare in Italian and Spanish, papere, Kottamalli, coriander. This is not a monologue, I'm going to talk to Rochana. I'm just rattling off, showcasing her words here. And of course, not to forget the Osari, Orissa Sari, Osaria, which is a Candian style of draping a sari. Walk us through. I said it all. I took I stole the thunder from your self, yeah. So, how did you come across other names, words as well, or is it just how did these numbered words get in?
Yes. So that list originally included a lot more words than the 8 or 10 words that you just read out. But the OED has a particular inclusion policy that involves seeing just how much evidence there is for the usage of a particular word. So what I did was I compiled a list of these words, different words that I thought very important, that I thought were very much in use within the Sri Lankan English speaking community. I drafted definitions for them, and then I found evidence from spanning throughout different years, from newspapers, from books, from maybe TV shows, news, recordings and stuff like that. And I had access to all these different corpora through the OED. They gave me access to different archives and different databases that they use for evidence finding. So I gave all of that, and then.
Just to interrupt you there, so Rochana, all of this was done when you were at Oxford, or were you in Sri Lanka doing?
No, I was in Oxford.
Right.
So all of this happened in 2023. I was first a student around March, April, June. I was a student then. But then afterwards, so after my personal passion project, I underwent a vetting process, if you will, and I had to undergo a lexicographical aptitude test, after which they gave me the consultancy. So it wasn't just because of my passion project.
Right.
So
this was your passion topic, then you went through the formal process at the university. This was outside of your studies. But then you went through that process, and then you were offered the position of consultant on Sri Lankan English. So it was the full process.
Yes. Yeah. So it wasn't just because I was interested in it. No, I had to undergo a process, a whole formal process.
And I'm pleased that you underwent that whole procedure, because otherwise it's just like saying, I will put my hand up and send you some words.
Exactly.
It wasn't that.
No, it wasn't that. It definitely wasn't that. So, and then I had a training placement for a few weeks as well. So I had to undergo the kind of training that lexicography contributors or other consultants undergo. So I had that entire training period. I was equipped with all the tools and techniques that are required of someone who is supposed to provide a consultancy to the dictionary. So this was all in 2023. So I drafted the words between August to December 2023. So now it's 2025. So at this stage, I might have added some other, different words, or maybe different words. I might not have made the same choices that I made in 2023, because I've grown as a person. I've become different as a person after 2 years. So these might have not been the words I would necessarily choose today. But back in 2023, I selected these words. Yeah, sorry.
Right. So no, that's very informative for me and for our listeners.
Yeah.
Just a question flowing from that. Does that mean in another couple of years or 3 years or whenever they update the Oxford English Dictionary, you could be proposing, submitting more words to them for their consideration?
I could, yeah.
You could.
Yeah.
Right. And if there are others in Sri Lanka or overseas, if they wish to submit those words to you, they could also get in touch with you?
They don't have to submit them to me, they can submit them directly to the Oxford English Dictionary. Because a policy of the Oxford English Dictionary, very interesting story about the Oxford English Dictionary that I think everyone should know, is that it's a crowdsourced publication. So ever since its beginnings, way back in the late 19th century, the premise of the Oxford English Dictionary is to get people to contribute from all over the world. So the first editor, James Murray, he actually, I have it written down, when he became the editor in 1879, the first thing he did was he released a publication, an appeal. It's called An Appeal to the English-Speaking and English Reading Public in Great Britain, America and the Colonies. He wrote this appeal and told people to contribute, to send in slips of words with evidence and quotations as to how they're used. So send them from all over the world, because this is what the English language is. People are using the English language differently in all these different parts of the world. So we want to know what the English language looks like outside of Britain. So send in all of this. So ever since then, there have been people contributing. So actually, the research that I did as a student, that my research actually focused on one such contributor from Sri Lanka. Her name is Pearl Kure. She was attached to the dictionary department of the University of Ceylon at the time. But then during that course of during the course that she
was working there?
During the not when she was working there, but during her exchange with the Oxford English Dictionary, I think the department was taken under the Ministry of Cultural Affairs.
Right.
So, so she communicated with Birchfield, the editor of the Oxford English Dictionary at the time. I think this was between 1971 to 1981, so 10-year period. So she contributed a lot of words, and then she actually suggested amendments to certain words as well. For example, the word pansala. Originally, the definition was, it's a forest dwelling for priests, or something along those lines. I'm not entirely accurate.
Like a hermitage.
Yes, exactly. And then she said, okay, that might be the Buddhist concept of what a pansala is, but that's not how it is at the moment. So then she contributed to editing that definition. So now pansala is defined differently. So so there have been people contributing from all over the world, and Pearl Kure's contribution is what I studied. So yes, anyone can contribute. Anyone can email the OED and let them know, and then they'll do the needful. So even when I submitted the list of words, I think I might have submitted about close to 20, I think. So then it goes to all these specialized specialist editors, and etymologists and library researchers, and all these different kinds of specialist editors in the OED. So they go through all of that, and they finally come to a decision. Okay, these are the words that we are going to include in the update, and these are the words that we are going to have to do away with. So an interesting word that did not make the cut. I have permission from Dr. Danica Salazar to talk about this because it's a very interesting word. The word kadua, for example.
Kadua.
Yeah, kadua, not sword, but kadua for English language.
I see.
Yeah.
The university logo. Right.
Yes, yeah. So they were really interested in that word, the socio-political connotations of kadua.
Kadua. Which is, of course, The English language, Karuwa, not the sport.
Yeah. So they were interested in that. But the reason it didn't make the cut was that, the kind of evidence that was available, let me explain this. So when a word is to be in the dictionary, when you're submitting these different quotations as to how it is used, there can be one quotation about, that kind of gives away the definition of it, explains what the word is, but then the other quotations should not be explaining the word, because then it's going to be just, just a definition of the word and not necessarily showing how the word is used, right? But all the examples of the quotations that I gave, they were all kind of explaining what Kaduwa is, not really in natural usage, right? Natural usage would have come in Sinhala language, but then the way that Kaduwa is used in English is, it's kind of limited to academic lingo, it's kind of niche. So that's why it didn't really make the cut. Whereas words like baila, papare, they're everywhere. You don't have to look much to find an example where you don't explain what baila is. You can just say, oh, it's a cricket match, and there's papare, not baila, papare playing. Or you go to Sri Lanka. There can be an example of you go to a Sri Lankan party and I'm dancing to the baila of the gypsies.
Ask what baila is.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why Kaduwa didn't make the cut and these words did. So Mallung, all of these words, they are in common usage among the Sri Lankan English speaking community.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were not affected by the Kaduwa at the university when you were a student? You rather not answer.
Well, in a different way. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now, Rochana, word baila.
Yes.
We all know what baila is, but I will mention it. A lively music genre. Now, my research, if I can say research here, is it's a Goanese style influenced by the Portuguese and the Creole people in the Konkani language. So do a Google, you will find baila in Konkani, Konkani. However, we Sri Lankans, all the races, ethnicities included here, have developed this type of song into one of our own. Do you agree with that sort of narration?
Yes. Well, sort of. I just want to explain that I think baila, the word that we use it, I mean, yes, it is a Goan style of music as well, but I think the nuanced way in which we use it is kind of distinct from how the Goans also use it, because for us it's about the music, whereas, and also the original word bailar, which is Portuguese, it means to dance.
Yeah.
And then we took that and we kind of gave it a new definition. So yes, we have made it our very own type of music. But yes, generally it is quite similar to like the Goan music.
So I think it's a unique blend from Sri Lanka, just like Kiribat, because it's rice and milk, but it's not rice and milk, it's a unique product.
Yes.
Kiribat.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's gone in. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And same with Kottaroti as well.
Kottaroti, yeah, absolutely. And then of course Kottamalli, coriander, Coriandrum sativum in Latin, for the benefit of our US listeners, cilantro, that's what it is, Kottamalli. So you put Kottamalli as well into the dictionary.
Yeah.
Great. Osaria. You wear the Osaria?
I do, but I have to also. I was born and raised in Kandy, but I'm not Kandian.
But you were born in Kandy, so you are from Kandy. Like a lot of people are. So, Osari, my background, sorry, not my background, the background of the word is, you need to correct me here, Orissa or Odisha state sari, Orissa sari, Odisha sari, Osaria. Now that's because I think with the advent of Prince Vijaya and all of that, the migrations from central to East India Orissa state. That's what the unique sari, which is distinct from the Indian sari. So Osiriya has now become a sari worn by women from Sri Lanka, especially of Kenyan origin. So how did that, I mean, what's the sort of evidence you had to provide the dictionary people, if I can use that phrase, OED, to say that's a unique dress?
So I think
so with the word itself, did you have to provide any other supporting backup evidence? Or
no, I think it just went through the same process.
Went through the same process.
So, but one of the so the definition itself, kind of makes a distinction between the Indian sari and the Osari.
Yeah.
It has a middle frill, and it's known as a frilly sari. I think one of the quotations mentions that it's a frilly sari.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to provide additional evidence.
But it's distinct from the Indian sari. That's the important thing. Pretty much. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just still on the contributions you have made to the dictionary with Sri Lankan words. It's important to say that they are not only Sinhalese, Tamil and Malay, or what we call Muslim words, but they are also of Indian as well as Indonesian, Portuguese, of course, background origins. But it's Sri Lankanized. That's the important thing. So it's one of our words, like lamprey, for example. Did you not put lamprey?
I did not.
Right. Yeah, because lamprey again is we Sri Lankans have taken on to own the name, but I think it was from Batavia, the Dutch in Batavia is today Indonesia, Jakarta. Then they came from there in their boats back to, or en route to Europe from Batavia or Jakarta. They landed, and of course the Dutch were running the coastal provinces, so they brought their food in there. That was the lamprey, which of course is a native food in some parts of Indonesia. But of course it's truly Sri Lankan. Yeah. So that's a word you couldn't get in this time.
I did not. It did not occur to me. I know it's very bad, but it did not occur to me.
Never mind. There will always be another update. So I want to sort of cover the areas that you were directly involved in, Rochana, in getting the update in the June 2025. That's this month's update. How often do they update the Oxford English Dictionary? Do you know?
I do not know how to answer that. But this June update of the World English Supplement, it had Australian, Canadian, Scottish and Sri Lankan. So those are the 4 main updates that happened during June.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear, because Sri Lanka is just one amongst the few countries that's been included in the update. So just for the completeness of our discussion and the program, for the benefit of our viewers, in addition to the words that Rochana has supplied and been involved with the Oxford Press, including those words that I mentioned, there are already certain references from the Sri Lankan languages that includes English have gone into the dictionary. Peopleization, saffronization. Now, I mean, the discussion is with Rochana, but I'm going to say a few things here and then we'll have a chat. Peopleization is been defined as peopleization initiative under President Ranasinghe Premadasa. Saffronization, Buddhist monks publicly participating in politics because of the color saffron and saffron robes, so they put zation. Hybrid constructions, hybrid words. Kunu kunufai. Is that right? Did I pronounce it rightly? Kunu kunufai. To grumble. Right? I want you to explain this. Rastification. Rastiadu?
Rastiadu, yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I think you would do a better job of explaining it.
Actually, I'm simply reading from the information I found. So let me read it. Rastification, a combination of the Sinhala word Rastiadu, wasting time that is, and the suffix or the basically to rust. If I can use the word Sinhala in Sinhala, Malakadakanda, rustify, rust. So that became, I think that word came from the colonial British who were there, you know, rustiadu, the word rustification, rustify, and then the local Sinhalese said rustiadu because they couldn't get the right pronunciation. And the Silanisms, I suppose Sri Lankanisms these days. I say it in Tamil and in Sinhala, Poituaren, Gilaennan. We Sri Lankans, even in the international sphere, say, I will go and come.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Again, Gilaennan. So, what to do? Yenna Sivada or Monawa Karannada? What to do?
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of English, or those who speak the King's English, may not understand when we say what to do, or I will go and come. Because you go, you don't come back, right? But it's the Sinhalese, the Sri Lankan tradition. You heard of these words before?
Yeah, and I'd like to add some, like ane sin, like ane pau,
ane sin,
or ayo pavam, you know.
Absolutely, yeah, ane pau. Now this is something I actually just deviating from talking to you. I'm now talking on the program. I was in an international forum in London, and I saw some people of Asiatic origin, and I just heard one of them said, "Sin no." Then I realized, what did he say? Sin no, right? Pau ne, ane pau. So, and it turned out to be he was actually an Indian living in Sri Lanka.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the Sri Lankan word comes in, ane pau. Gamak demuda. Do you want a game? It's not a game of cricket or chess. Do you want a fight?
Yeah.
So that's another word.
Yeah.
And shape peke imu. I've actually written this down. Not too bad, okay, I'm okay. I'm in good shape. Yeah. So, I mean, how do others at the Oxford English Dictionary and the Oxford Press look at these new words? I mean, are there any sort of anecdotes or nice stories to hear? Because we are now off the main script here.
Yeah. So people at the dictionary, particularly those working in the World Englishes section, well, they're not surprised at all, you know, because they do know that this is how language works, and you know, words like game, it can have a completely different meaning in our other cultures, and you know, words like uncle and auntie, for example, you know, we have more definitions for uncle and auntie than, you know, an English person would, because for an English person that word is, the definition is limited to, you know, brother of your parent, right, uncle, but then we have other meanings for it. So world things, so you know, for them it's, they're not surprised at all. They know that this is how languages work, and this was what James Murray back in the late 1800s, he also knew this, right? So they're not surprised at all. And also I have to mention Dr. Danica Salazar, my supervisor, the World English's executive editor. She herself is from Philippines, so she also added some Filipino English words to the dictionary as well some time back, and she had all these interesting anecdotes behind her words as well. So you know, they're very much familiar with all these different you know, cultural stories attached to these different words, and all these different words have different stories, like our words. Yeah, and phrases. Sorry, you were talking about the phrases and the phrases, different phrases, different ways of speaking.
And these phrases, and they are already in the thing in the dictionary or in that additional addendum or whatever.
Well, the dictionary only has words. But I mean, these phrases, I think people generally, they're just aware of how different languages can, different Englishes can have different ways of. Yeah.
It's remarkable actually. A small dot below India. That's the island of Sri Lanka, in its contribution to practically everything, including the culture, the words, the people. What we have added as a result of centuries of colonization, not just the European colonization, but the Indian migrations and Indonesia as well, or Malay, and the Arabs and so on. So I think it was a fascinating talk, discussion about these words. Is there anything else you need to add, Rochana, on this topic?
Yes, thank you. I do like to conclude with a few pointers. I like how you mentioned that, how you stressed that these are Sri Lankan words and not Sinhala words, because I did see a lot of news outlets, a lot of Facebook meme pages trying to sort of co-opt and hijack these as Sinhala words entering the Oxford English Dictionary, but these are Sri Lankan words. Kutturoti, Watalappang, all of these, they have Sinhala and Tamil influences, both of them. And as you correctly mentioned, Malay as well. So this is what language looks like. There is no such thing as pure Sinhala, and there is no such thing as pure English as well. And I'll come to that in my next point. The other point that I want to make is Sri Lankan English has been in existence for a long, long time. And it does not need validation, external validation from places like Oxford English Dictionary for it to exist or to be real. So words like Kiribat, Mallum, we have been using them in Sri Lankan English for the longest time, Baila, Papare. And this is not them entering the English language just because someone who studied in Oxford said that, they should be included into the Oxford Dictionary, They have been in existence for the longest time. So Sri Lankan English does not need that external validation, and I have to mention that the Oxford English Dictionary also does not seek to give that external validation either. The premise of the Oxford English Dictionary is to record language as it is. So they are very much aware that English is being used in different ways across the world, and they want to record that, document that. So they are also not saying that, okay, we are the arbiters of language. They're not saying that. They're not saying we are the ones who get to decide, this is now part of the English language. No, we are just documenting language as it is. And that's what the Oxford English Dictionary does. And Kiribat, Mallung, they don't need to enter the Oxford English Dictionary for them to make sense to us. So when I was a kid, it was a problem for me as to why we would say milk rice instead of Kiribat, when Kiribat has its own nuance, right? Kiribat is also like milk rice is fine, but then what about oil cake for Kaum? It does not make sense at all. And I saw someone had commented on a Facebook post. I'll say this in English, but it was written in Sinhala. This person had said something along the lines of, okay, now we don't have to search for a word or rummage through dictionaries to find a word to encapsulate Mallung. We can just use Mallung. So we don't need the Oxford Dictionary to tell us that we already had that validation from within us. It's not a salad. Mallung is not a star salad or a stir fry. It's Mallung, right? And we should own that. And then the third point I want to bring is, I saw a lot of people had also made this criticism. They had said something like, but these words only make sense in a Sri Lankan context. No one outside is going to understand what Mallung is, what Kiribat is. So what's the point of them even making into the dictionary? But that's the point. English language does not have to exist only in England, in Britain, for it to be English. It can exist in Sri Lanka. It can exist in India with all these different flavors and nuances, and that can still be English. English does not need to have a British passport to be English. And the very first editors of the OED, they're not English themselves. James Murray was Scottish. So it's not this English conservative, Anglo-Saxon thing. They've also been mixed. And like I mentioned, the current World English's editor, she's Filipino. And a lot of people of different nationalities work at the Oxford University Press, at the Oxford English Dictionary. So this is what language looks like. English does not have, like I mentioned, English does not have to be in England for it to be English. And Sri Lankan English is just as valid an English. And I'd like to end with a quotation that I've written down. In 1857, there was something called the Philological Society of London that was formed, and they're the ones who proposed the idea of a new English dictionary. And one of the main figures in this entire exercise was someone called Frederick Furnivall. His philosophy was, fling our doors wide, all, not one, but all must enter. So all these different words. And in his presidential address at the Philological Society of London in 1880, he famously asked, at which Englishman's speech does English terminate? So that's to say, it is not limited to this country that we are in. It's everywhere, and that's what we want included in the dictionary that we are making. We want English from all parts of the world. That is the philosophy of the Oxford English Dictionary.
Brilliant. On that very high note, positive note, I thank you, Rochana, for taking part and talking to us about the behind the scenes that went through with the headlines that you see on Sri Lankan and other international press about Sri Lankan words going in. So there you saw the efforts and the, as I said, the behind the scenes work that's gone in, and also your thoughts about an English is not exclusive to England. We are in Britain, and of course Sri Lankan English and the words we have used for a very long time. Not, it doesn't get validated just because it's in the OED. Thank you again, Rochana, for putting the linguistic and the cultural identity of Sri Lanka on the international stage.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Rochana Jayasinghe, the consultant editor for the Oxford English Dictionary for the Sri Lankan words that have gone in June 2025 edition. Thank you.
Thank you.